Baggers, what's going on? Excited to be bringing you content on the Hard Drag Push page right now. So, Sean, thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to bring and put some content on the Hard Drag Push page. Was thinking about these last couple days, the idea of staying in the moment, right? For all of us, no doubt we've been in those situations before where we've been in a game, we've been leading, we allow ourselves to think about how cool that victory is going to be. Other player or other team ends up coming back and they beat us. I've done it more times than I want to count or want to admit, and no doubt it's going to happen again to me as well. But it's not just cornhole, right? We see it a number of different places. Heck, we saw it in the NFL playoffs this year. Kansas City coming back a couple different times. We've seen it, I see it in hockey all the time, right? Teams are up 2 and 3 goals going into that third period. They lose a little bit of focus. They start to play conservatively. Other team comes back and beats them. And even we saw a glimpse of it in the Masters this year, where Scottie Scheffler, finishing up his round, 18th hole, end of the 4th round, allows himself, and he said it in the interview, to think about how cool it will be to put on the green jacket. And sure enough, he ends up 4-putting the Masters. Now, granted, he came in with a big enough lead, he could 4-putt the 18th hole and still end up winning by 3 strokes. So it worked out for him. But we saw that momentary lapse of focus for him. And the question is, what can we do when we find ourselves in those situations where our mind starts to wander a little bit, it starts to get out of the moment? How can we bring it back in? Now, I've had the opportunity, and I actually had the opportunity on Monday to put what I'm about to talk about to the test, but I've seen it as well as I'm, down big in games. The ability to come back, I think the ability to stay in the moment and just kind of stay focused on what we're trying to do and focused on our game is huge. So on Monday, had the opportunity to throw a perfect game. Now, caveat here is it was only 4 rounds. It wasn't like a Matt Guy, Alex Hicks going 40 plus rounds and throwing a perfect game that time. It was 4 rounds. But what happened to me was in between the 3rd and 4th round, 3rd and 4th frame, my mind started to go to that point of, man, you're throwing great. If you keep this up, you may throw a perfect game. Now, for me, being in that situation before, recognized my brain was getting way out ahead of itself, right? Way over its skis. And so I had to try to bring myself back into the moment. So for me, what I ended up doing was a couple things. One, recognized where I was going, right? Recognized that I was getting ahead of myself and had to kind of come back in. So my initial thought after that was, no, we're not done yet. There's still more work to do. So I allowed my thoughts to just kind of roll around in the brain and try to kick them out as soon as they came in. Then what I ended up doing was going through my pre-shot routine. So for me, pre-shot routine, get all the bags out of the hole, organize them, OCD kicking in just a little bit, but holding them stick side, closing seam facing the opposite hole, and then stepping into the box. And then last thing that I tried to do was really remove all other thoughts out of my head and boil things down to, for me, the lowest common denominator. So that was, in the moment, find your spot. That was the only thought I had in my brain those last 4 throws was find your spot. I knew that regardless of what happened with my bag, if I could hit my spot on the board, it was going to go in the hole. Honestly, that first throw out of the gate, a little bit squirrely, but ended up hitting the spot on the board I was aiming for, went in the hole, was able to close that game and close that match out. But it just reminded me that it's tough in some cases and sometimes for us to stay in the moment, but we can't let ourselves get ahead of the game, right? We have to stay in the moment. We still have to throw those bags. We still have to finish those last putts on the 18th green. So if you find yourself in that same situation, think about those same steps. 1, let that thought kind of flow into and out of your mind as soon as possible. 2, go through your pre-shot routine, whatever that looks like. And then 3, reduce all of your thoughts to that lowest common denominator. What is the one thing that you really need to or want to do in that round? Hope this helps. Hope this helps when you do get in those moments where you are, again, mind's wandering just a little bit, bring you back into the moment and able to close out those close games, close out those games where you're winning, even those games that you're behind, able to come back. So with that, Sean, thanks again for the opportunity to put some content on the Hard Drag Push page. If you haven't really checked it out, encourage you to get into and check out Hard Drag Push. bunch of times for all the content that you could possibly want around the cornhole world. So guys, thank you very much. See you on the boards.